My 25M wife, 24F, has started to withhold affection as a punishment. She never used to do this. Before we were married, if we argued, it was just a few hours of awkward silence, and then one of us would say how much we hated this fight. How stupid it is that we're fighting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. I love you. I love you too. Over the past 6 months or so, when we argue, we both then get the awkward silence. But now, it stretches into the evening. We'll be in bed. I'll go in for a goodnight kiss. She'll roll over. I'll say I love you. Good night. She'll just turn the lamplight off in silence. What makes this truly hurtful is she knows that when I was growing up, when I messed up, my parents would withdraw from me. And after enough time in 543 inches I'm sorry, they'd stop withdrawing. How do I get her to stop using this tactic? TLDR. Wife withdraws from me after we argue. You aren't actually resolving any of the issues that start the arguments? This seems like a prime reason to go to couples therapy and learn how to actually communicate and work through problems. Why do you believe that this is a punishment, rather than just not wanting to be with you in the middle of an argument? Maybe it isn't a punishment. Maybe it is a sign that actually your arguments have taken a toll. That just a little time and some platitudes aren't enough. That her frustration is taking a toll on her longer and longer. Also be aware, in her mind she may frame it the opposite way. When I am clearly upset, he will still try and kiss and touch me, and that makes me more upset. If she came here and presented that I would be sympathetic to her. Note that your focus is on the fallout of arguments and not the arguments themselves. You cite trauma as informing part of why you get so upset. But I think it has also normalized arguments and conflict as well. Time to talk to her about the arguments and what can be done to mitigate them escalating. But if your hope is you can just ask her to be intimate even when she is still upset, then be aware. That is not really fair on her. May I ask what part you play in these arguments? Sometimes I get flat out worn down by after a day of him getting on my nerves, I simply do not have anything to say to him. When he argues viciously with me, I don't have anything more to say to him. BC, I don't like him on those days. Is it possible that you are contributing to the arguments in non-productive ways? You phrased the title intensely. Why do you feel like she's punishing you? Because she knows your parents withheld affection when mad. So if she does the same, she's trying to hurt you? It doesn't sound like your old system actually resolved your fights. You'd sit in silence for hours. Say you don't like fighting. Then pretend it didn't happen. Some resentment may have built up on your wife's side. No one wants to be intimate with someone that is frustrating them. It's not a punishment. She just doesn't want you right now. It's not always a tactic. When you fight and argue with someone, it can be so hurtful that the passion starts to die, and love begins to fade. When trust begins to fade, try asking a different question. How can I communicate better with my wife on touchy subjects before they escalate into an argument and damage our relationship? How can I rebuild trust after an argument? Do I feel like my wife is controlling me? Edit. It also just sounds like your negative childhood memories are being brought back up, which is nothing to do with your wife. So be careful not to place that hurt or responsibility onto her. You have to learn to be stronger on the inside, and to have enough confidence to not need affection to affirm self-security or that this person loves you. Affection is given freely, and it is a choice. If someone doesn't want to be affectionate, for any reason, that is their choice. Maybe she just doesn't want to kiss or cuddle if she's upset. The fact that you're immediately jumping to her weaponizing your trauma instead of realizing that It's not withholding affection if she's not affectionate, is uncharitable at best. She's tired of sweeping things under the rug. The fact that you're apparently incapable of seeing it that way is baffling to me. Fighting is a turn-off. You need to find a healthier way to communicate. Resentment takes time to build. She's obviously getting sick of how you both communicate with each other. Using your childhood trauma is manipulative, I'm sorry to say. It doesn't make arguing okay. I have childhood trauma from arguing. I have adult trauma from arguing. It destroyed my marriage. What about your wife? You seem solely focused on you and your problems. Awkward silence is not communicating, and I love you doesn't mean it went away. Sounds like you both need some counseling to work on how to communicate with each other. And to work on communicating even when one of you is upset. Good luck. What was the last 2 arguments about? You're not entitled to your wife's body. Just because you're ready to move on from an argument doesn't mean she is. And you don't get to force your touch on her because it makes you feel better. She sounds worn out and defeated. If you're arguing a lot, I suggest taking a good hard look at your relationship because it's never a good sign when one partner just stops caring. Usually means the damage has been done and they're at the end of their rope. I don't think she's using it as punishment. Some people just aren't affectionate when they're still upset. If I'm sad or angry as hell, I'm not kissing you. I probably just want to be left alone. Not sure what you're arguing about, but it sounds like you need to fix those issues. If you argue that much, it's a problem. It gets tiring. Work out those issues and make sure you're both feeling loved and heard. Otherwise, it only gets worse from here. Is it withholding affection if one is not feeling affectionate? The way this is phrased is so self-victimizing. Personally, after an argument, I need a lot of time to cool down from anger and start feeling warm toward my partner again. I can't just brush it aside and act like everything's okay. So it's not actively withholding affection. Affection only comes when you're feeling happy towards your partner. Someone who makes her feel defensive is not going to get that. She is allowed to not want physical intimacy, with it not being a punishment. She doesn't have to cater to your trauma. Her needs matter too. Got to marriage counseling. She is allowed to withdraw and compose herself just as you are. If you can't learn how to communicate, then you are going to be paying for a divorce, alimony, and legal fees. You are feeling sorry for yourself, it sounds like. You have to create the experience and situation for her to want to be intimate with you. It is offensive to think that someone needs to be intimate on command. And if it is so bad that you can't communicate, then you need to face up to my second sentence here and let her go. You have identified an issue with yourself here on the internet. Go deal with that in therapy and try to communicate better with your wife. Are you sure she's doing it just to punish you? For many people, and I am one of those people, when they are upset after an argument, they find it impossible to be affectionate, and absolutely forget about a good night kiss. This may just be her way of processing her hurt feelings. I am sorry that your parents were abusive to you. That's a different thing entirely. You sound like my ex. He would pick a fight, then expecting to all be okay by bedtime. It wasn't okay. Why in the world do you assume that not wanting to be affectionate with you is punishment on her part? Maybe a big part of the issues in your relationship is you ascribing malicious and deliberate intent to reasonable actions on her part. There is nothing irrational or unreasonable about not wanting to kiss someone you are angry at.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.